Welcome back to the Star Trek Critic, where each episode is treated like a school project, starting with 100 points. Then we rip the show to shreds, taking 1 point away for each error, and we will see whatever is left. Tonight's episode is All Our Yesterdays. The Enterprise goes to a planet about to be destroyed by the sun-going nova, just to learn that the people of the planet have escaped to the past. This show was also scheduled to be the last episode of the series until Turnabout Intruder got preempted, so the first point is lost for not having the entire cast in the last episode and just the Three Stooges and Scotty's voice. I know they were strapped for cash in the last season, but the order could have been changed for a last episode with everyone in it. Of course, 1 point is lost for the captain and first officer beaming down together on a planet they know will explode in 3.5 hours, and 1 more point lost for not bringing a research or security team with them. Another point is lost for being so close to a star 3.5 hours before it's going to explode. It could erupt objects out ahead of time, just like a volcano would. The tricorder is not picking up humanoid life, but isn't one of the TOSs a real person? Of course, if it was mass suicide, they would have found bodies. Look closely, the design on the right was also in the Cloudminders. Should I take a point for this? They never actually explain how they got information about this planet. Of course, they would have known for hundreds of years when their sun was going to go nova. They now found the library. Whatever you do, don't tell Leslie no. Kirk now thinks he's the librarian. They are like, Septimus, how did you get here? And he says, no, I am Mr. Atos. Of course, they won't tell Mr. Atos they are from another planet, so he thinks they know what the library is all about. Previously, they mentioned this planet never achieved space travel at all, which means Prime Directive policy applies even though they always break it. And this planet is set to explode in 3 hours, so why not just break it? Of course, if they did, it would be a much shorter episode, and that would help the third season budget crunch, but I have rambled as much as these four now, so let's move on. Does this scene remind you of anything? It's just not the same, is it? Dr. Atos thinks they're the White Rabbit. The real Mr. Atos isn't any friendlier, is he? He does work until the last second, doesn't he? Look closely at the bench. The purpose of the library doesn't seem to be sinking in, does it? Atos has really bad OCD, like it's really going to matter if it's in the wrong file in 3 hours. Now look, there is a pad on the bench for Kirk to sit on, so -1 point. Atos is 75 years old. He should get to sit on a pad as well. Kirk is streaming movies on his iPhone. So, is he Mr. Atos or the Wizard of Oz? That's not the Atavachron, that's the computer from Assignment Earth. They really dance around this subject, don't they? But don't touch the disc or it will yell at you. See? So I'm convinced the Atavachron is fake. While Kirk is watching his favorite YouTube video, he hears a woman scream and goes to help. Keep an eye on that phaser. Alright, he still has it right now. And -1 point for not thinking this through. They already know enough about transporters. Kirk's like, hey, this is cool. I'm at a Renaissance fair. Kirk is quoting Bart Simpson. The women have really strange names in this world. Kirk's like, it's about time I got to be in a sword fight. The other guys got to do it all the time. I was trying to come up with a Who's Your Daddy comment, but couldn't think of one. Ironically, the people of this planet can go back to a time period that allowed slavery. The current woke liberals would have this show canceled in a second if they find this out. -1 point for touching a frozen rock with his bare hands. Check this out. The phaser doesn't work in this time period. Obviously, she's drunk because she thinks Kirk is an anglerfish. I would love to post all her slang here, but it will take too much time. Kirk has no clue about what she just said.
The universal translator has been confiscated.
Hey, this might get a little kinky.
Yes!
Looks like she knows of a quiet spot they can fool around in. And the sets are just a little too clean this time, so -1 more point. The next point is lost since these are two time periods thousands of years apart, not just two separate rooms, so it would be impossible for them to communicate like this. And since they don't try to go right back through right then and there, -1 point. McCoy asks, where is Captain Spock? Spock is about 2 movies away. McCoy prays to the captain. That's a little weird. And Spock finally figured out what happened to all the people. Of course, they're all trapped now. Kirk says, these are friends of mine, But she says, "No, I want you all to myself." The fact that they're freezing their asses off is a good enough reason to try going back through. Kirk calls these round things tapes. The next point is lost since McCoy's disc was not in the viewer by the door. They should have gone into Kirk's world instead. McCoy thinks, since we're the only ones here, let's take over. Of course, that won't last long. They're going to freeze to death soon. Kirk is arrested for witchcraft by Sergeant Zale. There's no way they could cast these shadows without artificial light, so -1 point. There they go again. Instead of trying to go through the portal, they go away from it, putting bare hands on frozen rock. McCoy falls in the snow a lot, doesn't he?
Leave me. I'm finished. No!
Spock comforts McCoy by singing his favorite Grease song. However, it had a negative effect on McCoy. Now he can't feel his feet at all. But the singing did bring help. Yes! Point is lost here for a naturally smooth cave floor. Spock thinks she created the weather, then says, "I'm a Vulcan, not a doctor." He better not give him any medication since he's not a doctor. The phaser didn't work, but the tricorder is working, so -1 point. Look closely at McCoy's frozen hair. Uh-oh. Anyone notice the similarities here? Spock's like, this isn't going to be good. Aww. And this is what Spock is thinking now.
Well, I could stay a bit longer.
It turns out the library is where Zarkon sends his enemies. There could be more nearby, for all we know. There's no way his planet is millions of light years away. However, he is also suffering from cold spells, so I won't take a point this time. Oh look, they're both losing their minds. Somehow I got the impression that she really wants to get laid. Spock is also thinking, hey, McCoy is out cold. Maybe we could pawn far a few times before he wakes up. Wait a second, isn't this the same dungeon scene as in the second season episode Cat's Paw? She's called a Mort because you couldn't say hooker on 60s TV. She is blaming Kirk for witchcraft. It might have been a bad idea letting people go back to any time in the past they wanted. Some of those people are going to cause a lot of damage to the timeline. Good news, this guy knows about the library. If he couldn't find somebody who came from the future, he'd be pretty screwed right now. We have only one eye in this show. It looks like Kirk is gonna get examined. Yeehaw! Kirk and the Mort start shouting insults at each other.
Watch where you're going, you dumbass! Well, I'll double dumbass on you!
The cut to the other time period is 60s TV's way of saying, they pawn fart, but we can't show you. Now that they're done, they wake McCoy up. McCoy tells them his favorite Who song. Spock tells McCoy to lie down while he's lying down. Somewhere during this time, they brushed all the ice out of his hair. Zarabeth makes her move by flashing Spock. Yes! Spock now feels like a deer in the road. They think they're in a time period before the one Kirk went to, but that might not be accurate. While Spock ponders why his logic is failing, I have to take a point for these two natural rock walls joined like it's a TV set. Spock wants to know how it works. Zarabeth gladly says, I will show you how it works. I've been waiting for one of these for years, because this time period doesn't have electricity, so I can't recharge my battery-operated, devices. Spock asks why. That came out of left field.
Well, a fuse name. Why? Because I want to know! Because...
For being in the Ice Age, she has plenty of makeup, shampoo, and curlers, so -1 more point. Now for her backstory. Her family tried to kill Zorkon the Tyrant, and he had them all exiled. But how long ago did that happen, and how long has the library been around? They have probably known for several hundred years their son was going to go Nova, so they might have had the library for that amount of time too. I don't think the Atavachron does anything. The scientists just say it's a one-way trip to prevent a bunch of problem people using the time portal for their own advantage. And she's using it to her advantage too to keep Spock there, isn't she? Look closely, McCoy is awake and listening to all of this. Spock's logic is failing again since while she is telling him they can't go back, he forgot they never went through the Atavachron. Spock says, Doctor, back to bed, but Dr. McCoy is thinking, is she going with me? And why does she have her shirt on backwards? Spock gives McCoy fake news. He says it's the time portal that altered their structure, not the Atavachron. -1 point for a captain's log telling the audience what we already know. Besides, not enough time has passed since the previous one, and how is he recording this? The Mort is taken away. This is a plot device, so she won't be a witness to what happens next. So -1 more point. And there he goes, no witnesses either. Kirk calls out the prosecutor as being from the future, who also says you have to go through the Atavachron. Kirk then says he has lost his way.
Can you help me? I have lost my sense of direction. Have you tried Hare Krishna?
Look closely, Kirk does not have his phaser at his side, but what's he got under his shirt? The prosecutor shows him the portal and runs away. Alright, he's going through platform 9 3/4 and there's nothing in his hip pocket. Look, he came back and there's his communicator, so -1 point. Back in the Ice Age, everyone wants to play doctor. But their petty bickering in the Ice Age has changed into something else, hasn't it? The next point is lost since Scotty says he has a landing party standing by. He should have beamed them down to find out what happened. Now Kirk has to deal with 3 fake ATOSs, and why is the real one still there with only 17 minutes left? That's beyond me. There goes one of them. When were they trying to save his life? That's what she said. Another point is lost for Kirk's fake fall. He puts his hands out when he hits the ground. Spock and Zarabeth go into small talk, which is 60's version of foreplay. Zarabeth says this is the perfect time to pawn far. Zarabeth offers Spock some meat. He asks if it's animal flesh, and she says, no, it's Zorkon the Tyrant. My family finally got him. How does he taste? Zarabeth says there is a hot spring deeper in the cave. Spock thinks about making a greenhouse, but Zarabeth says, no, let's go down there and fool around, that's my idea. Spock is wondering why he's acting so funny. He doesn't know Zarabeth secretly put Viagra in the Zorkon meat to speed up his pawn far cycle. And there they go. Spock finally gets laid this season, and never wonders once how this cave woman can keep her hair so shiny. And they don't even care that McCoy is watching them this whole time. Dr. ATOS is dedicated as his job, isn't he? He's determined to get you back in time. And right here, if Kirk accidentally pushes Dr. ATOS through, he'd really be screwed. They could hear the wind. Oops, there are 2 eyes in this show, not 1. Spock and Zarabeth are now smoking cigarettes. And now we finally learn Zarabeth is a woman. McCoy tells it like it is. -1 more point for a boom mic visible. Oops, and here we go again. McCoy asks Bones, what is Spock feeling right now? And I think it's his jugular. Spock identifies as a Vulcan. The next point is lost because Spock regresses 5,000 years, but McCoy doesn't. If you want to get technical, that applies to both of them. Spock says he doesn't know who he is. Zarabeth says, don't worry, the sex was really good. So this is twice now that a woman has taken advantage of Spock's brain when he didn't know who he was. McCoy now says he is going to try Spock. That's odd, I thought he would rather try Zarabeth. -1 more point for not just taking the disc out of the viewer that McCoy was looking at.
I don't know. He's dead, man.
-1 point for bad snowblower effect and the 90-degree angle at the bottom. They finally get to the portal, but Spock has to make one last-ditch effort to bring Zarabeth. That's what she said after 5,000 years. And another point lost here for Kirk wasting time to ask Scotty how much time is left when he knows they don't have any time left at all. Kirk thinks Dr. ATOS is the third baseman. Spock and McCoy say goodbye to Zarabeth, still wondering where does she order her makeup and shampoo in this time period and how does it get delivered. 1 point lost for the fur coats magically disappearing. And there goes Dr. ATOS. He works to the last minute, even though he does have 3 replicas to stay behind. Even though they need to beam up now, they still waste time with petty bickering so McCoy can say, it did happen, didn't it? And Spock can say, yes, I really did have sex with a 5,000-year-old cave woman. Kirk sings his favorite Elvis song, Now or Never, which is kind of touching as they fly away and escape the star exploding in the series finale. Also, the only episode that doesn't have a scene on the Enterprise, so it is a reverse bottle show, I guess. It's also possible that when they filmed this episode on generic sets, the Enterprise set was already being dismantled. Aww. So, who were the Sarpedians? Johnny Hamer has 90 screen credits, most notably Sergeant Zell in MASH. He was also on Mork and Mindy, Three's Company, and Plastic Man. Stan Barrett played the jailer and spent most of his acting career as a stuntman. Albert Cavins and Ed Beatty played the Fops, and both had very long acting careers. Anna Karen was the Mort and spent a lot of effort for the Muscular Dystrophy Association and lived to be 94. Yes! Kermit Murdoch was the prosecutor and was also on The Defenders and The Andromeda Strain. Ian Wolfe played Mr. TOS and his 3 replicas that died in the planet's explosion. He was also on Bread and Circuses and 300 screen credits in his 95 years, including Mutiny on the Bounty, Homebodies, and Hirsch on WKRP in Cincinnati. Marriott Hartley played Zarabeth and co-founded the Americans for Suicide Prevention organization, and along with being in tons of Polaroid commercials, has 130 screen credits including Peyton Place, MASH, the Logan's Run TV show, and The Incredible Hulk. All Our Yesterdays, where the people of a dying planet go back in time to survive, gets a score of 74%. That's all for now. Be sure to check out my other videos and playlists, click that like button, the share button, and most important of all, that subscribe button, and I will see you again soon for the final original series episode, Turnabout Intruder.